30 minutes. It looks like we've got about 10 minutes left. So we'd like to pick up in section 2 of 4.400.
Checking.
This is Mission Control Houston. Chris Cassidy opens the hatch to the International Docking Adapter, 11:37 a.m. Central Time. Station and Dragon flying together, 267 statute miles over the South Pacific. This is a view from the camera at the forward end of Dragon.
20 minutes until Dragon hatch opened, and the APAS hatch was just opened.
Again, 11:37 a.m. Central. The hatch to the International Docking Adapter was open. You see Chris Cassidy there poking his head in. That's the camera at the forward end of the Dragon. Now only one hatch separating Bob Behnken, Doug Hurley from Chris Cassidy, who you're seeing here from those Dragon views. Expected time to open that hatch is about 20 minutes from now. We'll report that time to you and expect to do a welcome ceremony at 12:15 a.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern. That'll welcome Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station as part of the Expedition 63 crew. We'll get to hear some words from them and have some VIPs here in Mission Control Houston to provide words to the teams that oversaw the entire mission and the crew aboard the International Space Station.
Station Houston, we copy the hatch open, no condensation, thanks.
Dragon, SpaceX on Dragon to ground, comm check.
Dragon to ground, how us?
A little choppy, how me?
You are loud and clear. We'll put section 2 of 4.400 in work.
We copy all, thank you, and please give Anatoly a call on Big Loop.
Okay, we'll call Anatoly on the Big Loop, and I'd also like to report 2 bottles of water consumed from location 9, bag 204.
Location 9, bag 204, and to confirm that was for the waste system flush.
One for the waste system.
Chris Cassidy removing that target from the APAS hatch docking interface.
Dragon, comm check on the Big Loop for Anatoly from Endeavour.
Dragon FM, voice check. How do you read me? Counting 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5.
Anatoly, Endeavour has you loud and clear. How copy?
Copy, Houston. They have you loud and clear.
Good to hear your voice.
Dragon FM, how do you read me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, okay. See you soon. Turning over to Houston.
And all players from Houston, that completes the comm checks. Thank you.
Copy.
Okay.
This is Mission Control Houston. Those comm checks within the International Space Station between the Dragon crew, Chris Cassidy, and on the other side of the International Space Station, the Russian segment, Russian cosmonaut Anatoly Ivanishin completing those voice checks. You can see Cassidy continuing to outfit the hatch, just clearing the space and providing some padding and removing that docking target from the APAS hatch.
SpaceX Dragon, go ahead and Dragon to ground.
So I copy that the waste system flush is in work, and 2 more bags were consumed from location 9, bag 204, and that includes the water used for the waste system flush. Is that all correct?
From bag 204, one of which Bob is in the process of consuming, and the other will be for the waste flush. That is correct.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying. And secondly, do we have your permission to come back on board with video?
Negative. We're going to need about 2 minutes. We're just wrapping up ops here right now.
Copy. 2 more minutes. We will await your confirmation.
Thank you.
Still getting views from the infrared camera that's located right at the center of the Dragon hatch, looking at Chris Cassidy, International Space Station Commander, outfitting that hatch, getting ready for Bob and Doug to arrive. You're hearing communications over Dragon to ground. That was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley on the other side of that hatch, inside the crew Dragon vehicle, finishing up their operations on the inside for that hatch opening, expected in about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, it's been a process to get to this point. Just about 2.5 hours ago, docking to the International Space Station was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the first commercial American vehicle to dock to the International Space Station with crew aboard. Again, we're expecting about 10 to 15 minutes to open up that hatch. One more hatch separating Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley from the inside of the International Space Station. Still looking at Cassidy doing some of the prep work for that hatch. We'll get some great views that Cassidy set up over the past few hours to capture this historic moment today. Be sure to stay tuned in at 12:15 p.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll start a welcome ceremony, officially welcoming Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station to join the Expedition 63 crew.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground.
Go ahead.
Anna, you're clear to come on board.
Copy. Clear to come on board, and thanks for your patience with the comm. We are in an orientation that's creating some blockage to receive your comm on Dragon to ground.
Yeah, we figured that was it. No problem. That's part of the deal.
Chris Cassidy giving a wave, eagerly awaiting Bob and Doug to come aboard. Just behind him, you see Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner, Russian cosmonauts of Expedition 63, standing by. We'll be able to come aboard Dragon here in a sec, get some views from the Crew Dragon. We're in a short handover of those communications from the International Space Station. Video and audio should be regaining them momentarily. Anatoly Ivanishin in the foreground there. Chris Cassidy continuing the prep work for opening up the hatch there. Again, the pressurized mating adapter hatch you see there in the foreground is open. The APAS hatch to the International Docking Adapter is open. Just one more, and that's the hatch of Dragon, the Crew Dragon vehicle.
Houston Station, Space to Ground 2. Station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
Station Houston copies. Dragon call ready when you're able.
Houston Dragon, go ahead.
And Dragon Houston, just looking to confirm that you're ready for hatch equalization.
We are ready as long as SpaceX is ready.
Okay, Station and Endeavour, stand by for equalization. We're putting it in work. Expected equalization time, 4 minutes.
Station copies.
Endeavour copies.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're continuing to equalize the pressure of that last hatch. Behind that hatch is Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. We are moments away from opening the hatch and welcoming them aboard the International Space Station. This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just tuning in, we are standing by for confirmation of the hatch opening between the International Space Station and the Crew Dragon. There's the hatch to the Crew Dragon. Seeing Doug Hurley through the glass on the other side. And there's Bob Behnken. Still equalizing that pressure between the Crew Dragon and International Space Station, just moments away.
Dragon SpaceX on Big Loop. You are go for hatch opening per the decal, followed by the remaining actions in your procedure 4.400.
Dragon copies, go for hatch opening and remaining steps in 4.400.
And with that, the hatch is open 12:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 p.m. Eastern. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley opened the hatch to the International Space Station after launching from American soil on a U.S. vehicle for the first time in 9 years, the first time ever for a commercially built spacecraft. If you're just tuning in, the hatches are open between Dragon and the International Space Station. International Space Station Commander Chris Cassidy now talking with Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. That hatch opened at 12:02 p.m. Central, 1:02 p.m. Eastern.
SpaceX Dragon on the Big Loop. The hatch is open in 5.5, 4.400. How copy?
I copy. Hatch is open. Great to hear. Thanks.
And SpaceX Dragon in 5.9, we're going to exit out of 4.400 and transition to 2.102 Crew Dragon ISS arrival through the hatch opening.
I copy. With that, I understand you are complete with 4.400 and will follow along with you as you transition to the ISS procedure.
This is Mission Control Houston. The crew of Demo 2 just performing a few closeout duties. The hatches are open. They were open 12:02 p.m. Central Time. We're moments away from the Dragon crew aboard Demo 2 to enter the International Space Station. It'll be the first time that Americans will enter the International Space Station on a rocket launched from U.S. soil, built by an American company. The first time ever Americans will enter from a commercially built spacecraft.
Station Houston on Space Run 2 for Chris. When you're able, we're just looking for a quick voice check on the mic.
Station Space Run 2, go ahead.
Chris, we were hoping we could voice check the mic just before starting the PAO event.
Okay, copy that.
Houston Dragon on the big loop in step 6.1 of 2.102. IMV duct installation is complete. Go for IMV fan activation.
Houston copies, go for IMV fan activation. That's in work.
If you're just tuning in, you're getting a live look.
Station Houston on two things. Chris, we did hear you over the PAO side of things. That was a good voice check. We might ask you for one more. And then for the Dragon crew, you also have a go for 6.3. That's opening the location 23 and checking for debris.
Dragon copies 6-3 in work.
If you're just tuning in, you're getting a live look. On the left of your screen is a look inside the Crew Dragon on the Demo 2 mission. On the right, the International Space Station.
Houston,
Bob Behnken.
Dragon on the big loop. We are ready for 6.4 and section 4 of the LIO instructions.
And station, we copy. Dragon crew, you are go at 6.4.
In work.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're getting a live look at the inside of the International Space Station, losing video communication from the International Space Station. It will only be momentary. We'll have those views back to see Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley enter the International Space Station. When they do, it'll be the first time that humans will enter through this hatch for the first time in 9 years.
Dragon, so we had to I had to load the procedure from my iPad and hand it in to them, so that's what took a little longer.
We copy, Chris. Station Houston on 2 for Chris. When convenient, PO requests an additional voice check through the mic. Chris, we're not hearing you in MCC. We are apparently getting it through to PAO. Just stand by. Chris, PAO is working. Comm reconfig. I'll call you if we're ready for another check.
Houston and SpaceX Endeavour in 6.5 LIO cartridge is sealed and installed.
SpaceX copies.
Station Houston on 2 for Chris. We wanted you to confirm that the mic is in channel 1. It needs to be in channel 1. A thought here is that it could have been bumped over to 2. And Chris, we see you trying. We're still not hearing you in MCC. We're working on it. And Chris, nothing in MCC. We see you trying. The word here is that as long as that is in channel 1, any problems past that point are on our end, so we're looking into it. We'll be right back to you. Station Houston, we're ready for another voice check through the mic. Station Houston, we have you loud and clear through the mic. Thank you.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop in 7.1.
SpaceX here.
Okay, Anna, in 7.1, it appears that the ABV inner Bravo is open, as well as the PPRV ISO valve.
I copy that ABV inner Bravo appears to be open, as well as PPRV ISO valve.
Go ahead and cycle them to close if you're good with that call.
Yes, we are good with that call and appreciate the status. Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just tuning in, hatches were open at 12:02 p.m. Central Time. We are moments away from Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley entering the International Space Station. Again, this is Mission Control Houston, moments away from Bob and Doug entering the International Space Station. Shortly after they enter, we will conduct a welcome ceremony. There will be VIPs here in Mission Control Houston, Ficker 1.
Looks like they're all closed visually now. We are in 8.3 for both SpaceX and Houston. Dragon arrival configuration is complete.
SpaceX copies. All valves appear closed visually now, and arrival configuration complete. Excellent to hear.
Houston copies. And with that, Endeavour, welcome to the International Space Station. Please come aboard.
Endeavour copies with pleasure. We'll be there in a second.
We have Bob Behnken from SpaceX Demo 2 mission entering the International Space Station. Followed by Doug Hurley.
And Station Houston, we see you, and it's a great-looking photograph. So thanks for that. Stand by one. We'll call you when we're ready for the event in the next few seconds. Got a whole bunch of very happy and grateful people making their way into MCC right now.
Demo 2 crew now aboard the International Space Station. They entered at 12:22 p.m. Central Time. The station at the time was 262 statute miles over Turkmenistan. Crew all gathered in front of the cameras at the Node 2 forward end of the International Space Station. Just behind them is the hatchway to the Crew Dragon on this Demo 2 mission. We're standing by for a welcome ceremony. We'll have VIPs here in Mission Control Houston ready to greet the crew.
And station, we're just about ready. Stand by. All right, station, it's Houston on Space to Ground 2. Confirm that you are ready for the event.
Houston, this station, we are ready for the event.
Copy that. And, sir, Administrator Bridenstine, welcome to MCC. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is the NASA Administrator. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Welcome to the space station.
Thank you, Chris. It's good to see you. And welcome to Bob and Doug. I will tell you, the whole world saw this mission, and we are so, so proud of everything you have done for our country and, in fact, to inspire the world.
We sure appreciate that, sir. It's obviously been our honor to be just a small part of this. We have to give credit to SpaceX, the Commercial Crew Program, and, of course, NASA. It's great to get the United States back in the crewed launch business, and we're just really glad to be on board this magnificent complex.
Well, we have some VIPs with us here, and I'm sure they have some questions that they'd like to ask you, but I have one of my own before I turn it over. And I just wanted to find out if you guys got any sleep on your way up there the last, I'd say, I got 19 hours. Did you guys get any sleep?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in Hawthorne were asking the same question, sir, but we did get probably a good 7 hours or so opportunity for sleep, and I did succeed at sleep, and Doug did as well. So the first night is always a little bit of a challenge, but the Dragon was a slick vehicle, and we had good airflow, and so we had a excellent evening, and just excited to be back in low Earth orbit again.
Amazing. Well, one of the people that is here with us today is Senator Ted Cruz, and of course he's a huge advocate of America's space program, and he's been somebody who has helped us so much as we transition from one administration to the next administration. And the reason missions like this can have success is because of continuity of purpose. And Senator Ted Cruz was a leader on a bill called the the NASA Transition Authorization Act. And because of that, we have had a lot of political support, and we're very grateful for his leadership. Senator Cruz, would you like to say a few words?
Well, congratulations, gentlemen. The eyes of the world are upon you, and everyone is proud of you. All of America is watching you, and today and yesterday represent big, big days. We're looking at a decade since we've had American astronauts launched on an American ship from American soil. And I can tell you, I sat with my wife and kids in our living room watching on TV yesterday, and I suspect we did what just about everyone watching did, including both of you, which is held our breath as it took off. And we're glad to see you've landed safely. We're glad to see you've docked. And so let me ask you, that Dragon is an amazing vehicle. How does she handle?
It flew just like it was supposed to. It was we had a couple opportunities to take it out for a spin, so to speak, once after we got into orbit last night, and again today about 20 minutes before we docked. And my compliments to the folks back at Hawthorne and SpaceX for how well it flew. It is exactly like the simulator, and we couldn't be happier about the performance of the vehicle.
What do you guys hope to accomplish in your time on the International Space Station?
Well, while we're on board the space station, of course, with the new spacecraft, we do hope to put her through her paces, and so the good ship Endeavour is going to get a lot of checkout over the next week or two here. and hopefully we'll be able to declare her operational, and Doug and I will be able to take some burden off of Chris and his crewmates, Ivan and Anatoly, so that we can keep the space station operating at its peak possibilities. So we're looking forward to contributing any way that we can, and like I said, trying to keep space station as productive as possible.
As a country, we're in the midst of a tough week. We're seeing protests, we're seeing a lot of anger, we're seeing violence. And I have to say, this launch and y'all's docking is a powerful inspiration of what we can do when we come together, of the power of unity, the power of ingenuity. And so I guess the last question I would ask you is since you have the opportunity to address, in particular, all the young people in America, what would you tell them in terms of what we can do when we can come together?
You know, that's a great question. 9 years ago, just about exactly 9 years ago, we docked with Atlantis on STS-135, the last flight of the Space Shuttle program, a 30-year program. And folks at SpaceX, folks at NASA, the Commercial Crew Program put their heads together and worked diligently year after year, making sacrifices, working hard. And then 9 years later, American launch capability was restored, and this is just one effort that we can show for the ages in this dark time that we've had over the past several months to kind of inspire especially the young people in the United States to reach for these lofty goals and work hard and look what you can accomplish.
Thank you, gentlemen. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. We have another very special guest here that represents the Johnson Space Center. And, of course, it's my good friend from the House of Representatives, Dr. Brian Babin. And I want to be clear, he also was a big part of the NASA Transition Authorization Act, which gave us the continuity of purpose to make this happen today. So, gentlemen, here is Dr. Brian Babin from the state of Texas.
Thank you. It's great to be with you guys. I was at the launch yesterday. I just want to say a huge congratulations. And, you know, there was a thunderstorm that blew in about 30 minutes or 45 minutes or so before liftoff. And it was in doubt there for a minute, but it was just an enormous achievement. I just want to say thank you for you guys. Really appreciate what you're doing for America. And the crew that's already been up there, Chris, and your two fellow Russians, to give you a great big thank you as well. I have a son who was a Navy SEAL, and I want to thank you for your service there too, Chris. And also, I would like to just see what I know you said that the craft, the Dragon, handled very well, but I want to see how it compares with the space shuttle. If one of you would address that, I would appreciate it.
Well, thank you, sir. It certainly has been a long endeavor for us and our namesake spacecraft. We're proud to have her on board the International Space Station after all that the teams around the country and across America have done to get us here today. As far as a comparison with the space shuttle, both Doug and I took a few minutes while we were accomplishing the approach and docking to, in our spare time, talk a little bit about it. We were surprised a little bit at how smooth things were off the pad. The space shuttle is a pretty rough ride heading into orbit with the solid rocket boosters. And our expectation was, as we continued with the flight into second stage, that things would basically get a lot smoother than the space shuttle did. But Dragon was huffing and puffing all the way into orbit, and we were definitely driving or riding a Dragon all the way up. And so it was not quite the same ride, the smooth ride as the Space Shuttle was up to MECO. A little bit less G's, but a little bit more alive is probably the best way I would describe it. Anything else, Doug?
No? Sounds good.
Bob, what is MECO?
Sorry, I have to apologize for actually using the term MECO. It's a little bit confusing between the Space Shuttle and the Dragon vehicle. So it's a main engine cutoff is what MECO stands for. Those happened at different times in flight for the two vehicles. For the Space Shuttle, that was when you were all the way in orbit. For Dragon, that was just a little bit after 2 minutes. And then we had the single engine cutoff for second stage when we achieved orbit. So that time under the single engine under Dragon with one engine was more of an experience than the shuttle was for that 6.5 minutes or so that we were under that second stage motor.
Well, I would just like to say, in fact, Doug, did you have something you wanted to add there? I met your mother and father yesterday, Doug, and great folks. They're very, very proud of their son.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Hopefully they enjoyed the launch. I know for parents, it can probably be pretty nerve-wracking for them to experience a launch. This was their third, so I'm glad everything went okay, and hopefully it was a good show. We haven't obviously heard or seen any video yet, but we're looking forward to seeing the launch replayed sometime.
I can assure you that it was a great show. It was one of the treats of my lifetime, I would have to say, and many other folks that were sitting there looking all across the country and even the world. And I can tell you, as Senator Cruz said, we've gone through some really, really rough times over the last few days, and to have that successful launch. The public-private partnership between NASA and SpaceX, and you guys being so well-trained and having it go off without a hitch was a tremendous blessing for our country. And I can't tell you how many emails and communications I've gotten from people that who were so disturbed by what's been going on, transpiring around the country, to have the great news and the wonderful liftoff and everything going without a hitch. So I just want to say God bless both of you. Thank you so very much. Bless the rest of you folks up there as well. We thank our Russian partners. And thank you, Chris. Y'all are all in our prayers, and we're looking forward to seeing you successfully complete your mission and back safely on Earth. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just so you guys are aware, the show was in fact spectacular. The ratings on NASA TV beat everyone else. Not just some of them, it beat all of them, and that includes, just so everybody is aware, the whole world saw this. It trended #1 on Twitter. It was the #1 thing talked about on social media in general. This was an amazing moment, and it represents a transition in how we do space flight from the United States of America. NASA is not going to purchase, own, and operate rockets and capsules the way we used to. We're going to partner with commercial industry for access to low Earth orbit, and those partnerships are going to enable our providers to get customers that are not NASA and drive down our costs. And we're going to have numerous providers that are competing on cost and innovation and safety. And we're going to have more access to low Earth orbit than ever before. And this business model, now that it's been proven on commercial resupply of the International Space Station, now commercial crew to the International Space Station, this model is going to apply, and I know Senator Cruz has this near and dear to him, when we go to the moon. And, of course, when we go to the moon, it's going to be done because of the great people here at the Johnson Space Center and so many other centers across the United States of America. But when we go to the moon, we're going to land on the surface of the moon with commercial landers. And of course, we're very proud of the Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program being managed right here out of the Johnson Space Center as well, so that we can take small payloads to the surface of the moon. And all of this is leading up to an amazing day where we have humans living and working for long periods of time on the surface of the moon, but doing it with a purpose. And that purpose, of course, is to go to Mars. Humanity is going to explore more and be able to go further than ever before because of the public-private partnerships. We all know that if the government is creating the demand and the government is creating the supply, we will always be limited. But when we have partners that are interested in exploring commercially and doing the things that are necessary, to get capital investment, then we're all going to end up better. So I want to just say the whole world saw this. This is a new era in human space flight, and we are so grateful for the service of not just our 2 astronauts that embarked on this mission, but the 100,000-plus people that participate in it, in this mission, everything from the suppliers to the main contractors, to the NASA team, the SpaceX team. What an amazing day for our country and, in fact, for the world. I'm going to turn it over for a second to my deputy, Jim Morhard, who's been a great deputy at NASA.
Gentlemen, congratulations. You know, Jim's mentioned going to the moon. And yesterday and today, one, you've inspired the Artemis generation, which is our next generation. And that's what this is about. It's really bringing the children that we've got and our grandchildren forward so they'll be the ones that are going into deep space. This is the dawn of a new era, and we just thank you for being at the beginning of it. Thank you so much.
It was absolutely our pleasure, but it's just a huge team effort across the board from SpaceX to NASA that made this all happen. We were just the lucky guys that got to fly the rocket yesterday.
I have a question for Chris Cassidy. Our crew here decided to be about 3 days late. You got to work them overtime, I presume, now to get them caught up on all the activities that they missed out on. Any plans for them?
Well, the day they missed out on was a good one for them to skip. It was Saturday house cleaning, but I took care of it for them. We'll catch up next weekend. But in all seriousness, we've got a few things to take care of tonight. Make sure we're all safe and we know the plan in case something bad happens. And then we're looking forward to some operational stuff later in the month. Maybe we'll get outside and do some spacewalks. And our efforts in these coming weeks will be in that effort. So we're all super excited to have 2 more crewmates to the Expedition 63 team.
Awesome. And of course, here in Houston, this is the home of the astronaut office, and the Johnson Space Center is led by Mark Geyer, and I'm going to turn it over to Mark for a few comments.
Thank you, Jim. Hey, it's great to see all of you there. Good to see you, Bob and Doug. I know we talked a few days ago. You look a little taller than I remember you. And but I also want to thank Anatoly and Iman and of course Chris for what you guys have been doing since you all arrived. And I know there's been a ton to do, and you've been really busy, and I appreciate that. So I also like this visual of our international partnership. We have had a tremendous partnership with Roscosmos, and we will continue to do so. But it is nice to see crew arrive from this side of the space station. So that was pretty cool after 9 years. I did have one question for Chris, though. What might you do to ensure that Bob and Doug stay longer? Do you have any strategy there?
Well, we'll slow down the rate of which I'm eating food, and maybe we can stretch out our consumables a little bit. But that's a great question. We'll have to come up with some conniving scheme here in the next few days.
All right, thank you. Thanks, guys. Look forward to greeting the 3 of you eventually back in Ellington after your work is complete. Thank you.
And, of course, Mark Geyer has an amazing deputy, Vanessa Weish, if you'd like to come and say a few words.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, guys. You look really good. I just want to say on behalf of everybody here, we just want to thank you. It was an amazing launch, and we love seeing the docking. You guys all look really good. Just thank you for all that you're doing, and we can't wait for you to return, but not too soon. Station wants you to get a lot of work done, so looking forward to all of that. But thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Vanessa. We appreciate that.
All right, we also have with us Steve Jerzik, who is the Associate Administrator for the agency. For people who don't know what that is, that, of course, is the Chief Operating Officer of the agency. But he also ran the flight readiness review for this mission. He did really an amazing job, and I can't say enough about his leadership at the agency. Steve, if you'd like to say a few words, ask a few questions.
Hey guys, it is just great to see you all on the station. I can't tell you how my adrenaline shut down when you guys opened the hatch. I mean, I've just been on edge ever since yesterday, and the weather cleared. I can't tell you how great it's been to see you on station. It has been a team effort. I felt like the last 2 years I've kind of been part of the team, working through issues, and it's been a heck of a year and a half with Demo 1. And the in-flight abort test, and working through issues like parachutes and the escape system, and I just could not be more proud of the team for getting to this point. It's amazing, and you obviously have been part of that. I really appreciate you all showing up in Washington, D.C. at our reviews, and because the last thing we do at those reviews is look at you all, because you guys are the risk takers, and make sure you're okay with where we are and where we're headed. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate your active participation in that. And I could not be more, like I said, more proud of the team, and congratulations. And it is awesome to see you guys on station.
Well, thank you, sir. We're just proud to be a part of the team that got to bring spaceflight back to the Florida coast. I appreciated the comment earlier that it was nice to see a vehicle come to the forward portion of the space station, but I'll tell you what, that's the only way Doug and I know how to do it. So thanks to the team for providing it to happen our way. We appreciate that.
Well, Bob and Doug, just so you're aware, I'm being given the wrap signal. Doug, did you have something to say before we wrap it up here?
Oh, no, sir. We're just happy to be here, and Chris is going to put us to work, and hopefully we will fit in and not mess too many things up.
I have no doubt that you guys are going to do amazing work. I just want you to know the president came to the launch and the vice president came to the launch. About half the cabinet was at the launch. We had members of Congress and members of the Senate from both sides of the aisle. And this was an amazing moment of unity for the nation. It was an amazing moment for the whole world to look up. In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic and some other challenges, we were able to have this very, very special moment where we could all look at the future and say that things are going to be brighter tomorrow than they are today. And you and the NASA team and the SpaceX team gave us that opportunity, and for that we are so, so grateful. I would also be remiss as the NASA administrator if I didn't promote what comes next. And of course, this is the beginning. We are now launching to low Earth orbit again, but we will soon be going to the moon. We will be going to the moon sustainably with commercial partners and international partners. We're going to use the resources of the moon to learn how to live and work for long periods of time. Ultimately, we're going to take all of that knowledge and we're going to go to Mars. And of course, this time when we go to the moon, we go with a very diverse, highly qualified astronaut corps that includes women, which is why we call the program Artemis, named after the twin sister of Apollo, and she, in Greek mythology, was the goddess of the moon. This is the beginning. There is so much more to come, and I'm glad that our representatives of the Johnson Space Center are here because we're going to be asking them to fund this project. and what an amazing day that you guys have given us. So thank you from not just me and the people here, but from the United States of America and people all around the world. I'm more popular on Twitter than I've ever been, and it's because of you guys. Thank you.
To the crew on the International
Thank you to all
Space
of you.
Station.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Chris, we ask that you just hold your position for a few minutes. There's, of course, a number of photos we'd like to take. And then a quick note for those down here in the room. To Senator Cruz, Congressman Babin, Administrator Bridenstine, Director Geyer, and all of our distinguished visitors, thank you for your participation in today's historic event, and thank you for the leadership that has enabled it.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station.
That concludes our coverage of the SpaceX Demo 2 mission in conjunction with NASA. On behalf of all the teams that participated in this mission, from Hawthorne to Houston to Mission Control to the Kennedy Space Center, this is Mission Control Houston.